Hello, beautiful people. Today is 22nd of July. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll take a quote from Jane Ellison, who's a diplomat and was a Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. He says that there can be no peace without development, no development without peace, and no lasting peace or sustainable development without respect for human rights and the rule of law. So, guys, in a nutshell, the central idea that has been given here is that the rule of law, the democratic rights, as well as the sustainable development all go hand in hand. If there will be undermining of the one, then obviously the other can also not be enhanced. Friends, this particular quote is very open ended and can be used on any developmental related question you are writing in GS paper number 2, social justice, GS paper number 3, economic development, in ethics, or even on to the topics of the essay. Now, guys, the main question that I gave you yesterday. So, question says that the legislation to check mob lynching is just like a firefighting approach, as it represents a deeper malaise of the fractured social environment. Also, discuss the Supreme Court guidelines with regard to the mob lynching. So, it is a type of very open-ended question which needs an open-ended answer. Now see, the effective firefighting doesn't only depends on extinguishing the visible fire, rather it focuses on to identifying the structural problems which are there due to which the fire starts. So guys, curtailing the mob lynching is not only nabbing the people who are involved there, rather we need to correct the social fragmentation or the social structural problems which are there into the society due to which the incidents of the mob lynching are occurring. For example, the increasing cow vigilantism, which happens to be the major reason for the mob lynching. Then there is the resurgence of the right wing extremism as well as the renewed extra zealous nationalism onto which protest against the lynchings are being carried, as we had seen into the case where certain people were killed onto the train and onto the charge of being beef eater and anti nationals. So we need to focus on to the structural problem which is there into the Indian society, which is not only leading to the mob lynching but also undermining the fraternity which has been guaranteed by the preamble of Indian Constitution. Now, guys, coming on to the next part, that is the Supreme Court guidelines. So, Supreme Court guidelines, the most important one is the Tehseen Poonawalla versus Union of India judgment, where the Supreme Court has said that the mob lynchings are the horrendous act of mobocracy and has given certain directions also. For example, it was said that there should be a senior police officer not below the rank of the SP who will be acting as a nodal officer in every district to curtail the mob lynchings. Then guys, there also needs to be establishment of an officer who will constitute a special task force and intelligence will be gathered onto the person who can commit such kind of crimes. After that, guys, center as well as state governments are also needed to sensitize the people with respect to such kind of heinous crimes and the repercussions that it can bring. So guys, these are certain important guidelines which have been given in this particular regard. So guys, that's it, and on to the conclusion, you will be ending it on an optimistic line that by taking the adequate measures onto the hardware approach means bringing the institution, bringing the law, as well as onto the software approach means bringing the sensitization into the people, we can reduce such kind of malaise. So guys, that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis. Guys, first of all, we'll take the overview of the entire paper first, and I would also like to inform you that the PDF notes of all the factual news that we are taking are provided on our Telegram channel, and the link has been provided into the description. You can download it from there. Now, the first news here is about the role of the speaker. Guys, we don't need to go into the political controversy, but onto the speaker's role. So, with respect to that, important dimensions will be seeing here. Then, guys, next is the trade deal with the US. So very good article, will be seeing certain issues here. Then guys, moving forward onto the city page, you can see that only the regional news, COVID news, deluge caused by rain, etc. has been given. Nothing important has been mentioned. The same is onto the northwest page. So guys, finally we reach to the editorial, and the first editorial is with respect to the counter China. We'll see certain suggestions which have been given here. Then guys, This particular article is single-handedly targeting the governor of West Bengal, Trinamool Congress, as well as BJP, as how they are into the mudslinging. Substance for UPSC is not there. Then, guys, this article is about the fiscal packages critical analysis. So we will be seeing this thing. Then, guys, this is about the candidate vaccines which are under trial. But, guys, anyhow, there are 142 vaccines which are in preclinical stage and 24 into the clinical. We can't track each and every one, only the breakthrough we need to see. And in that particular direction, if you remember, yesterday we had seen the CHEDOX one entire science and tech aspect we had already seen, so not important this one article. Then, guys, here the prices of the repurposed drugs etc has been mentioned, but they will be retailing for, guys, for UPSC question expectation is not here. Then, guys, the data regulation has been mentioned. Very good article, in excellent way we'll be analyzing this thing. Then, guys, moving forward, we can see that only the political etc news has been given, but here N95 caution has been mentioned, so we will see this thing, what are the issues involved here. Then, guys, China is playing a strategic card in Bhutan. Very good article, we'll see what is happening. Then, guys, social security number for the migrants, good for our exam. After that, guys, vulnerable groups have sent a petition for the global fund, so we'll see what are the issues there. Then, showcase page, not important for our exam. Then, guys, on to the world page also, you can see that important news have not been there. Onto the business also, the corporate news have been given. Now, guys, here government is saying that more steps are needed for boosting growth, but what exact actual steps, they have not been mentioned. Then, guys, the consumer law has been mentioned here. Yesterday I had told you all things which are there into this particular dimension. I hope you have read it. Then, guys, next onto the sports page, here the ultrasound wave detection has been mentioned, so we'll see how we can use it into the exam. So, guys, that's it, and now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now, starting up, friends, here we will see an important constitutional dimension, that is the role of a speaker. So, guys, first of all, catching up, see, under the 10th schedule of the Indian Constitution, anti defection law has been mentioned. And under the anti defection law, it has been said that if any legislator defects from the political party, leaves the political party, either form an independent group or join any other political party, then he could be disqualified, and in this particular regard the decision has to be taken by the speaker. After that, not only into the case of defection, but if there is a denial of the whip into certain matters which can impact the stability of the government, then also the disqualification can be carried. Now, guys, whip is the disciplinary officer of a political party. He ensures the attendance of the members, he ensures that politically important matters are taken into the favor of the party and all such kind of thing. Now, friends, in Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot, who had support of certain of the MLAs, had repeatedly defied to attend the Congress legislature party meet in which certain of the important decisions were to be taken. Now, in this particular case, there was a speculation going on then that Sachin Pilot and the group, they are in a bid to defect from the political party and they might be joining other political party. So, in this particular regard, the Speaker of the Rajasthan Legislative Assembly issued the notice of disqualification to the Sachin Pilot and the group of MLAs. Now, against this decision of the Speaker, the Sachin Pilot and the MLAs have approached the Rajasthan High Court and had said the role played by Speaker to be unconstitutional. Now, guys, in this particular regard, certain issues come here. First of all, guys, here it has been said that how Speaker can issue the notice of disqualification, because it could given only when there is a defection, but till now there has been no defection. Then, secondly, guys, it has been said that even there is no defiance of the whip also, because whip only applies when the session is going on, and right now there is no session going on. Thirdly, it has been said that just the MLAs wanted to convey their anguish against the style of a ruling government, and now they are being silenced by giving them the threats of disqualification. So, this is the denial of freedom of speech to the legislators, which is again unconstitutional. After that, it has been said that the speaker has acted into the haste, and a very short notice has been given to the speaker, to the legislators, and it violates the idea of the natural justice. So, guys, all these are the issues on one hand. Now, guys, on the other hand, first of all, it has been said that under the anti defection law, it has been said that the decision of the speaker will be final and it cannot be questioned into the court of law. So here it has been said that this entire process of going to the high court happens to be invalid. Secondly, it has been said that up till this point of time, only notice has been given and no actual disqualification has been carried. So, writ petition made into the High Court happens to be invalid. After that, it has been said that notice can be given to the members, and for notice, the reason is not to be given. So, here there is no problem. So, guys, this is all going on, and now one more angle comes. See, into the Kyoto Holohan case, it was said that the speaker's role cannot be questioned until and unless speaker is acting into the malified intention. Now, guys, this point also comes here. So, the Sachin Pilot and group, they are saying that speaker is acting onto the dictates of the chief minister. Therefore, his intentions are politically motivated and hence malified. So, this is also happens to be one ground. But again, this ground will be countered onto the ground that no actual disqualification has been happened. So, how this thing will come into the play? So, guys, all these things are going into this entire matter. And now Rajasthan High Court has just forbade the speaker to take any decision up to the 24th of July. However, guys, this is not that important. You just need to keep all these dimensions into your mind in regard to the role of speaker into the matters of the anti-defection law under the 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here we can see that a converging point between the India and USA might be coming into the days to come. See, before going into the news, first of all, let's have a look on certain basics. Now, guys, when two countries are involved in the trade relations with each other, they sign various type of bilateral trade agreements in order to make their trade barrier free, and so that their goods can get the better access in each other countries. Now, guys, there could be different types of these trade agreements onto the basis of the preferences that are given. See, first of all, there could be the free trade agreement, where it has been said that okay, only a negative list will be maintained. Negative list means that only certain goods will be written on which there will be certain barriers or there will be certain tariffs or duties, and the goods outside of this list will not be having the barriers or the tariffs. Now, guys, this is a fairly wide understanding, because into the negative list there might be 200, 300 items, but outside the list there might be thousands and lakhs of items which are not having the kind of substantial tariffs on them. So it is a very wide kind of understanding. Now, before going into the free trade agreement, there could also be an intermediate mechanism which is called as the early harvest agreements, or at some places they are also called as the preferential trade agreement. But guys, on a wider understanding, preferential trade agreement happens to be a wider umbrella term. Anyhow, coming back, so guys, under the early harvest agreements, what happens, it is said that onto the experiment basis we will come into a kind of a treaty and we'll see how it works. So here the concept will be there that a positive list will be made. Positive list means that there will be some 50 100 items on which the tariff or the barriers will not be there. However, all the things outside this will be having the usual trade barriers. There will be the tariffs, there will be the custom duties, and all that kind of thing. So the idea here is that, okay, if we are able to successfully work onto these items, then we can move to the free trade agreement, where we can have only the negative list and everything outside this will be freely traded. And guys, after the FTA also, there happens to be one more thing, that is the comprehensive economic partnership agreement, which is one of the highest type of bilateral trade engagement. Here the rules of here investment, services, everything is liberalized. And now coming to our news item. So guys, India and USA are one of the biggest trading partners, but still we don't have the free trade agreement with the USA. Why? Because there are certain concerns. First of all, USA believes that the India follows a protectionist foreign trade policy, because India imposes very high custom duties on USA's imports coming into India. For example, high end Harley Davidson motorcycles, on which the custom duty of nearly 50% is levied. Though, guys, it has been reduced from 100%, still, it is believed to be very high. After that, even onto the basic items such as the dairy products, almonds, fresh apples, etc., onto them also the India imposes a very high duty. Then, into the retaliation, USA is also imposing the high import duties onto the Indian aluminium and steel. And even USA had suspended India from the GSP, that is the generalized system of preferences. Here, a large number of Indian goods used to have a duty free access into the USA, and since 1970s India was entitled to the GSP, but now it has been dismantled. Why? Because USA said that India is not doing the same in favor. Guys, if you know, then India brought the data localization norms, where it was said that the Indian generated data needs to be stored into the servers located in India. But we know that the country companies such as the Amazon, Google, they store the data into the US servers. So by this data localization, America was angry. Moreover, there was also the tightening policy onto the e-commerce, due to which also in America was angry and they suspended the GSP. After that, USA also believes that India imposes very high duties onto the American pharmaceutical drugs as well as medicinal equipment such as the coronal stunts which are implanted into the heart. So guys, because of all this thing, the relation onto the trade terms have been very tight, and in this direction we are now hoping that we will go to the FTA. But before that, we are now very much near to sign the early harvest or a limited preferential trade agreement, where 50 to 100 items will be listed. So guys, here the deal has been nearly finalized on this aspect, and from here we will move to the FTA, and into the future there could be a way that we can even go to the SEPA. So guys, this is all with respect to the US India trade relations. I hope you have understood it, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks about as what should be the approach of India to counter the China. Now, guys, into the past few days, we had seen that there have been a lot of tensions onto the LAC sector, and the reason is the China's behavior of expansionism. Now, friends, it is known that there are the different versions of the LAC or different opinions with respect to the LAC. Obviously, China believes that their claim extends far into the Indian territory, such as into the Galwan as well as into the Fingers region. And now, what is China is doing? China is trying to legitimize their own claim, so that a buffer zone can be created between the India and China onto the India's own territory. But India is in no mood for the realignment of the LAC. But guys, now we need to rethink as how we will make it happen that China should mend its behavior. And in this direction, first of all, we need to make certain concepts clear into our mind. See, from very long it is being said that the 21st century is the Asian century, and India and China are the vanguards. Vanguards mean the two people who will be leading this thing. But that this particular thing has been denied itself in 1988 by the Deng Xiaoping, who said this thing, that he highly doubts this thing. And this thing becomes even more clear into the 2020, when we see that both the countries are diametrically opposite to each other. So guys, the idealism of Hindi Chini bhai bhai needs to be shattered at this particular time. And after shattering this belief, if we analyze the China's move, then guys, China is moving to reclaim the numero uno moment. Numero uno means the fight to be the number one, and ultimately this fight is against the USA. But guys, before directly hitting to USA, China wants to prove its hegemony into the Asia. Therefore guys, what he is doing, he is claiming the Asian neighborhood, and the charity begins from home. And therefore the land acquisition is being made into the LAC, and the maritime acquisition is being made into the South China Sea. So guys, Asia, the China is depicting itself as an Asian hegemon, after which it will show itself as the world hegemon and will claim the title from the USA. So guys, after understanding this China's strategy, we need to bring certain changes into our own policy also. So what are the suggestions into this particular direction? Number one, guys, we already understood that China wants to seize the numero uno movement. So actually China is not interested into the land, it is just grabbing the land in order to prove its point. Moreover, by grabbing the land of India, China cannot afford to compromise on made in China plan of 2025 and Chinese standard plan of 2035. So made in China plan, China says that they will be moving to the high end goods manufacturing, such as self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, etc. And then they will be needing the market. And who will be the market? India will be the market. So guys, by just grabbing the land in LAC, they will not be undermining the relation. Secondly, as the part of the Chinese standard 2035, China wants to lay the further future standards for all the upcoming technology which has till now been claimed up by the Europe as well as America. So here also China wants to make the mark. So guys, simply the land grabbing is not the long term strategy, rather it is a part to leave the mark. And in retaliation, at this point of time, what we need to do, we need to have the strong military so that China cannot get the leverage. And in this particular direction, it has been said that we should bring the mountain strike core division into our military, so that they can keep the strict vigilance onto the mountainous terrain such as LAC, and China beforehand can be deterred back to their own territory, because we cannot sacrifice our boundary or our territories for the China's sake of proving the point. Then guys, the next suggestion is that we should also involve into the diplomatic front. See, we should generate the opinion into the world countries about the injustice that China is carrying into the LAC at the different ministerial level. For example, commerce ministry level, ministry of external affair level, defense ministry level, we can mobilize the countries against the China. After that, India has already successfully spearheaded the non aligned movement, and now this is the time that all the like minded countries of NAM should be mobilized by India against the China. Then, guys, after that thing, India can also mobilize countries by the virtue of a meaningful relationship which India had always held with the countries. For example, guys, if we take the example of Africa, China has always played the card of the debt diplomacy, whereas India has always carried the genuine development of the indigenous people in Africa. All the projects which India is taking in Africa, either they are untied grant based or they are purely for their own development. So, by this particular virtue of India's untied leadership, India can mobilize the support in their own favor. After that, guys, Third front, we need to make a new brand India. We need to show that we are the ambassadors of peace and never we wanted the confrontation. We need to show into the historical and cultural ethos that India has always avoided the kind of aggressionism, and onto the social media with the neighbors, with the China's neighbor who are fed up with the China's aggressionist behavior, with the Quad countries. We need to popularize ourselves as an ambassador of peace. And guys, by both of these points, we will garner the enough of the world support against the China. And fourthly, we need to give a united front to China, and this unity can be greatly enhanced onto the spiritual front. I'll give you one example. Guys, Dalai Lama has taken the refuge into the India, but since long we have distance from Dalai Lama because we don't want to make China angry. And now it is high time that we should recognize the Dalai Lama's leadership, so that the Buddhist population into the nearby countries can also be inclined towards India, and therefore a kind of a unity will also be made into the India as well as into the neighborhood against the China. And by playing all these cards together, we can have a considerable say into the India China relationships. So guys, this is all about this. You can use all these points as a way forward into the China India relation questions. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, this particular editorial is the criticism of the fiscal package that was announced by the government of India under the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So, when the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan was launched, it was said that it is built at 10% of India's GDP. However, as the time passed, then various international agencies as well as global credit rating agencies had said that it is not 10%, rather 4% of India's GDP. And as per various domestic agencies, and according to this article, it has been said that this particular project was only 1.7% of India's GDP, including the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, where the subsidized food grains were given to people, and even including the recently announced 3-month extension to the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. Now, guys, see, world over it has been said that the government went for the containment, due to which the economic activities were reduced, and in order to absorb the economic losses that were brought by this containment, relief measures were to be given. It was believed that because of the relief measures, money will go into the hand of the people and they will raise the demand, and because of this demand, the economic activities will again be started. But if we analyze actually what happened onto the demand side, then guys, there are certain things. First of all, we announced that MG Narega will be given additional funding of 40,000 crore rupees, because by MG Narega we will employ more people, money will go into their hand, and the demand will be generated. But seeing the quantum and the population, this is very much less, and government had not performed good here. After that, guys, government has just rerouted the existing schemes and their funding. For example, government has announced the Garib Kalyan Rojgar Abhiyan, which was said to be a 50,000 crore rupees project, where it was said that according to the skill set, the people will be involved into the construction and the creation of durable infrastructure. Now, but guys, this new scheme is not actually new. Rather, the ongoing projects under the 12 ministries and departments have been converged under a new name. So actually, there will be no funding involved, and because of these reasons, the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is not actually the 10% of the GDP. Then, guys, further moving onto the demand side measure, there also happens to be a direct cash transfer, and in that particular direction, even the countries such as Indonesia and Bangladesh have been performed very good. After the lockdown and pandemic, Indonesia increased the cash transfers by 111%, whereas Bangladesh by 163%. Moreover, Indonesia also started two new unconditional cash transfer schemes, just like the universal basic income. But India had not started any unconditional income transfer scheme. So here also India has not done very good. So guys, into this particular light, there could be certain suggestions also which could be given. First of all, I had told you that MG Narega is not serving the purpose because of the funding and the number of people which has to be served. Therefore, it is a high time that we need a urban component also of the MG Narega, because what about the urban poor? They also need a job guarantee. Then guys, there is a time that we need to carry the amendment into the deficit limits, as the world countries are going for this thing. Therefore, it is high time that government should actually resort to the escape clause under the FRBM Act, due to which 0.5% of additional borrowing India can be able to do. Then thirdly guys, in order to mobilize fund, we can also start some innovative bond. For example, the Indonesia had started the pandemic bond by which they are borrowing the money, and that money will be reinvested for the demand generation. So India can explore also onto this line. Then guys, fourthly, there is also a proposal of monetization of deficit, where the centralized bank, for example the Reserve Bank of India, will buy the public securities, the securities issued by government. In return, it will give the money to the government, and money will be used for the demand generation. So guys, all these options could be explored into this particular direction. So that's it, and now we'll move to next. Now guys, this particular article explores the new data regulation which has been suggested by the Gopal Krishnan committee for the non-personal data. Now guys, before going into the news, let me give you some background. See, there could be two types of digital data. It could be the personal data and it could be the non-personal data. Personal data is generated when you fill your credentials into some online website. For example, you fill your credit card details, your date of birth, your preferences on some social media website or such. Now guys, these kind of personal data is protected by various kind of privacy laws world around the world countries. Then the non-personal data are those which are collected by the agencies but don't pertain to any person. For example, data related to the weather, which is generated by the large number of weather apps. Then whether the data related to the traffic patterns, and likewise. Now guys, onto this non-personal data, the Gopal Krishnan committee has submitted the report, and public comments are being asked onto this report up to the August 13th. And now into this particular article, certain criticisms have been given. Now guys, first of all, the criticisms might not be that much suitable into the long term, because it is just a draft, and upon the finalization some things might be changed, but still we will see that what are the problems. Now first of all, into the draft regulations, the concept of data principle has been mentioned. Now guys, the data principles are those to whom the data relate, and the data principles could be the individual, they could be some companies, or they could be the entire community. Now, see, we can identify an individual, we can identify a company, but what about the community? Who are the members of community? What are the parameters to be the member of the community, or what is the definition of the community? These crucial things have not been mentioned, and these things might lead to the dispute into the future. Then guys, secondly comes the concept of the data custodian. So they are the ones who are involved into the collection, storage, processing of the data. Now guys, it is not very clear that who can be the data custodian, whether they could be the government or they could be just the private companies. So into this particular thing, the matter is also not very clear, and the problem will come when a conflict will arise between both the two with respect to the processing or collection of the data. Then, guys, with respect to the data custodian, the concept of data monetization has also been mentioned. It means that by using the data, the money can only be also be generated. But what benefits will actually go to the data principals because of whom the data has been generated? That thing is also not very clear. Then, guys, after that, one more thing has been mentioned here, that is the data trustees. Now, the issue comes here that data trustees could be the communities, they could be the government, they could be the citizen group or universities. So, trustees an organization which holds a control over some specific dimension of the data. But what will be now the relation between the data trustee and data principal? That is also not very much clear. How this trust will be maintained between both the parties, how the concerns of each other will be addressed, this is thing also is not clear. So guys, basically there are large number of scopes where the disputes could arise, and actually the policy might not be that much fruitful. Moreover, a grand issue comes here that though India is not having any policy onto the personal data, which is even more crucial, we are going forward with the policy of the non-personal data. So rather than focusing on here, first we should go for the personal data policy, and in this regard, the a data privacy bill which is pending should be passed as soon as possible. So friends, these all are the issues involved here. However, we still need to wait as how the matter will unfold after the date of the public comment has been expired. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, in a brief, we can see that the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has cautioned with the N95 valved masks. So, you might have seen the masks which are having these kind of valve, which are provided so that a person can exhale easily and therefore doesn't feel suffocated. But due to these valves, it has been said that the entire purpose of of wearing the mask stands defeated, because through these valves a person can exhale the COVID-19 virus particles which can infect the people who are into the vicinity. Though the person who's wearing it has been said he is safe, but if he's asymptomatic, then the people in his surrounding are not safe. Therefore, all the states and union territories have been cautioned that the people diagnosed with COVID-19 should not use these kind of masks. Now, guys, if we discuss what is actually N95, so N stands for non oil. It means that it can only be used when the non-oil particulates are present, and if there are oil particulates, it will not offer the protection. And 95 means that it has a 95% efficiency to filter out the airborne particles. So guys, thus that's it here. Now we'll move to next. Now, in this news item, we will see a very strategic claim that is brewing into India's neighborhood, that is Bhutan, by the China. But before that, we'll see certain background. Now, guys, you can see here that the China is having a boundary with the Bhutan, but there has been no formal understanding onto the boundary. And since 1984, the China and Bhutan are negotiating the boundary issues. Now, guys, the China and Bhutan's boundary is disputed at three particular points. First, you can see into the north, that is the Jakarlung, then there is the Pasamlung, and then here there is the Doklam towards the western side. So this is equation number 1. Then guys, just now in 2020, a new claim has been made by China onto the into the Bhutan, that is onto the Sakting Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, first of all, how this dispute came. So in June 2020, Bhutan was seeking the funding under the GEF Global Environment Facility where Bhutan was entitled. But there, China tried to block the Bhutan's appeal, citing that actually Sakting Wildlife Sanctuary belongs to the China. Though at that point of time, India and Bhutan came together and Bhutan was able to get the funding by the GEF. But from there, the one more dispute started between the Bhutan and China. So guys, all these are the areas where the dispute between Bhutan and China is going on. Now what has done? China has given a package deal to Bhutan, which originally it gave in 1996 and had now repeated it. Here China is saying that it is ready to solve the dispute at Jakarlung and Pasamlung if Bhutan is ready to give Doklam to the China. And on the sidelines, the Sakting dispute is still there. So guys, what is this? This is entire the strategy of China. See, China from very start is interested into the Doklam, and even it tried to capture the Doklam in 2017, because Doklam has a strategic advantage. It has a height, and from here China can launch an offensive. Moreover guys, Doklam is also very much near to the Siliguri chicken neck corridor, and if China becomes powerful here, then it can cut the access between the mainland India and the northeast India. So Doklam is very strategic and China is interested here. Now guys, this entire episode we can see as the policy of the carrot and stick by the China, where first of all it is using the stick by bringing the Sartang issue, and then it is giving the carrot into the form of the package deal. But guys, this entire thing is not centered towards the Bhutan, but it is centered towards the India. We know why, because now the China has adopted a aggressionist stand against the India. This has been visible into the LAC also. So guys, this is all the issue here. That's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here a very good suggestion has been given in order to curtail the problems of the migrant workers. So, here it has been said that a social security number should be provided to all the migrant workers, especially to the ones who are into the informal sector. Now, it has been said that by the help of this social security number, the mapping of the migrant workers, their skill set, their migration patterns, etc., will be done, and whenever they will be into that crisis, their help could be made. Now, first of all, in this particular direction, earlier we had seen that various state governments are also running the scheme. For example, the government of Madhya Pradesh is running the Rojgar Setu Abhiyan, where it is also mapping the workers. But still, there is no centralized database into this particular regard. Moreover, by this social security number, we will also be able to get the quantum as how many migrant workers are there. Now, guys, if we talk about the data, there is no credible information as what is the actual number of migrant laborers. Though, guys, labor ministry is relying that there could be 1.08 migrant workers, but it is based onto the data given by the railway ministry as how many people actually traveled from the shramik special trains. But into these trains also their family members and other people were also there, so such information is again not credible. So again, the social security number can provide us the much needed information. Though, guys, the social security code bill 2019 has already been raised, and there is the provision of the social security fund, but it is silent onto the matters as who will contribute to this fund and how it will be utilized for the workers welfare. So there also it is being said that the recipients could be mapped onto the basis of the social security number, so it is a high time that it should be given. Moreover, with respect to the enrollment of the people into the such social security number, it has been said that the gram sabhas should be involved to do that kind of work, because otherwise internet registration etc will be problematic for the workers who don't have the internet connectivity or don't know the technical know-how, and the same work into the urban areas can be done by the municipality. So guys, a lot of benefits will be coming if such social security numbers will be given, as they could be mapped, schemes could be given, they could be given the entitlements. But at the same time, it could also be an example of the duplication, because already we have the Aadhaar number. Just we can tweak Aadhaar number, and into the Aadhaar only we can seed the information of the migrant laborers. So this could be a counterpoint into this particular direction. However, still such reform will be serving a good purpose. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, here we will see a news which you can write as a reference into your GS2 answers concerning the vulnerable sections. See, there is a large population of the people who happen to be the sex worker or ailing with the AIDS or the transgenders, bisexual people. But into the aftermath of COVID 19, no focus has been given to their livelihood concerns, their economic vulnerabilities, and the problems that they are facing. Therefore, guys, in this particular direction, the sex workers, trans persons, gay, bisexual, drug users, and people living with HIV/AIDS have written to the Global Fund for AIDS, TB, and Malaria (GFATM) that they should be given the adequate support, because till now no specialized UN agency had come forward to help these people. Though millions and billions of dollars are being spent for the welfare, but specific welfare has not been there. Now the nitty gritties such as who made the appeal and all those kind of thing is not important for our exam, just we'll use it as a reference. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now friends, one more reference as well as prelims related news item we can see here. See, into the times of pandemic, there are large number of students who are facing the uncertain future, and therefore their mental health happens to be a concern. Therefore, in this particular direction, Ministry of Human Resource and Development has announced the Mano Darpan, which is an online chat platform where the support into the times of crisis can be provided to the students, teachers, as well as families. So, guys, it will be manned by the experienced counselors, psychologists, as well as by the mental health professionals. So, guys, if anybody is into the stress, they can call here. The number has also been given. So guys, this is a very positive development because everybody is focusing onto the physical infrastructure, onto the physical support, but mental support has nearly been forgotten. So in that particular direction, in order to tame the stress, anxiety, fear, fearfulness, etc., this particular initiative will be helpful. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, here we can see that the IIT Madras researchers have perfected a technology by which the defects into the large structures can be identified. Before going into the news, guys, let's look into certain things. See, into the large structures, we need to see whether a crack or some defect is there. So, there are two ways. Either we can break it, but then it will not serve the purpose. So, therefore, we need the non invasive techniques. Non-invasive means that without breaking them, we should able to identify the cracks or the internal problems. So that particular thing is done by making an ultrasound scan of the structures while the high frequency sound waves are traveling from them. Now guys, these the sound waves, they have a quality that they can travel at a uniform speed until and unless there is a crack or there is some kind of distortion. So guys, if there will be any distortion into the sound waves, it will be picked by the ultrasound scan and we will identify that there is a problem. But the conventional methods are time consuming and point to point assessment is carried. Therefore, IIT Madras have searched an alternative for this. So, guys, here the nanomaterials will be used to pick up the frequency of the guided waves. Earlier waves were not guided, and now, guys, these new guided waves can travel much more longer distance. So, into the less time, bigger structures can be identified. But there is one problem that into these guided wave testing, the resolution is poor, whereas into the conventional method, the resolution was good. So guys, this is the thing. Now I will tell you how we can use it as an application. So we see that into the disaster management, there happens to be huge damage which is caused by the building collapse, by the earthquake, and all these kind of things. So before the time, we can identify the vulnerable buildings by running them through the guided wave testing, and therefore proper building protocols can be imposed onto them and the problems can be rectified into the due course of time. So guys, that's it about this particular article, and now we'll move to the question section. Now guys, please pause the video and answer the question. So first question is with respect to the Kamleshwar Dam. Please identify the right option. Question number 2 is with respect to the exercises. Please identify the correct code. Now the question number 3 is with respect to the Central Consumer Protection Authority. Please identify the correct code. Now question number 4 is with respect to the passes. Please read the statement and identify the correct code. And now the mains question for today. So guys, the mains question is from GS paper number 2. So question says that what do you understand by non-personal data? Trace recent developments in the regularization of the non-personal data along with the critical analysis. So guys, it is a 15 marker question. Please write it and tomorrow we will be discussing the framework of this answer. So that's it guys. I hope you are liking our initiative. Thank you so much.